Hey people, it's Niall Stoker. Now this is another Black Traitors video. Now I'm just going to be narrating from a couple of websites. So here it goes. This is Darthard Perry. How Black Prominence Attracts the FBI. Completely under the radar, Darthard Perry casually went on TV on November 2nd, 1980 and blew the lid off everything we thought we knew about the FBI, American domestic policy, and its ingrained fear of black-driven movements of any kind. Perry himself was forced through FBI threats and coercion to become an FBI informant, spent his career infiltrating black communities, organizations, and political parties such as the Black Panthers, the Black Student Union, and the Watts Writers Workshop, which he eventually burnt down under agency orders. Perry eventually left the FBI after 7 years, having personally been a part of the organization's methodical intent to dampen any kind of social and political foothold blacks could gain in this country. Perry had had enough. With himself, his conscience, and the systematic oppression of blacks in America through government-funded means, so he came clean. It was that simple. He granted renowned investigative reporter Gil Noble access to any questions Noble had concerning the FBI, the agency's anti-civil rights agenda, and its darker secrets. Perry went on to explain how Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, JFK, Robert Kennedy, and various leaders of the Black Panther Party had all been killed at the hands of the FBI's involvement in their affairs. The thing that Perry stated that is so important to realize is not just black political leaders of the FBI targets, it's any black person who rises to prominence that may have the social influence, money, and resources to organize a group of people to action. Hoover and FBI officials had enjoyed their control, their blanket power over minorities that was imposed through centuries of terror, racism, violence, slavery, fear, and hypocrisy. It made them rich, it made them powerful, and any black individual that threatened that way of life immediately became a personal threat that needed to be watched. Perry's hour-and-a-half interview is full of gems where he puts us on how we can protect ourselves, our minds, our own platforms, as minorities and everyday citizens. You should watch the whole thing sometime when you have time, and if you just have it play in the background, in just because white power isn't playing, and neither should you. In the meantime, here are some takeaway highlights on Gil Noble's 1980 interview with Darthard Perry. Darthard Perry. Take out your notes and get hip, my children. Get hip and use it to your advantage. Number one, there are many black informants in your neighborhood. The FBI's number one means of action is getting someone inside you and your friend's circle, preferably who are already part of the community. Many of these brothers and sisters are caught in a cycle of agency-laden threats, harassment, and leverage, and are forced into being an informant, but nonetheless. The FBI comes for prominence. Darthard spoke on how musicians and entertainers with influence are immediately persons of interest on the FBI's radar. Don't think you need to be Jesse Jackson or a Black Panther to become someone the FBI may deem a threat. If you're black and making moves, know your game. The FBI may look to set you up for prison. Darthard explained multiple cases of Black Panther Party members who were in prison simply because of being Panthers and prominent. They used murky situations to translate into definite prison sentences or the threat of prison to remove the subject. The same thing happened to Marcus Garvey and Assata Shakur. Too much power and too black. Even though their cases were based on false pretenses, the agency set them up either to have to go to prison or get out of the country. Both took the latter. Now I'm going to read from the other one, which is just some of the interview he gave. So this is from archives.org. From 1970 through 1975, I worked as a paid agent for the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I was recruited by the FBI by Special Agent Brandon Cleary, presently of the Los Angeles office of the FBI in 1970, by the threat of having me arrested for violating the terms of a state probation. His name is Darthard Maurice Edward Perry, a.k.a. Ed Riggs, Bill Perry, John Garrison, Offalo, and Crackerjack. He is 27 years old. For the last 5 years, he has been informant for the FBI. Well, obviously, there seemed to be an error in the previous article. He did 5 years. But anyway, during that time, under the direction of the Bureau, he claims he has conducted surveillance on numerous black elected officials, including Assemblypersons Leon Ralph, California Lieutenant Governor Mervyn Dimley, and Congressperson Ronald DeFlume. He has placed listening devices, bugs in the offices of Assemblyperson Ralph and at G radio station KPFK. He has conducted surveillance of scores of community meetings and binds using his position as H video camera person for the Watts Writers Workshop as a cover. He has conducted surveillance on SLA's safe house and distributed radical literature given him by the FBI, which explain how to construct a simple time bomb, how to build a self-igniting Molotov cocktail, and how to manufacture people's hand grenades. The government caught in the embarrassing position of having yet another agent reveal innermost secrets of their clandestine operations reluctantly admits Darthard Perry was one of their own, forced into the admission before federal judge Matt. Just bear me mess there. There's no dispute that Mr. Perry has worked as an informant for the FBI. In a series of taped interviews and signed affidavits, Darthard Perry has spelled out his career and activities as an FBI informant for the Free Press, attorneys for KPFK, Assemblyperson Leon Ralph, the Congressional Black Caucus. According to his statements, Perry began his career in 1970 as an FBI informant while he was attending Sacramento City College. He was arrested for receiving stolen property and offered a deal by FBI Special Agent Brandon Cleary. Perry would become an informant and conduct surveillance on various groups and individuals in the Sacramento area. The FBI will see that he did not go to jail. Perry agreed and was given 3 years probation. Alright, I'm going to stop reading it here. I'm going to leave this in the description. You can read yourself. But there's some important things to take away from what we've come across. Is that people who the FBI specialize and police forces across America specialize in using people who have been arrested on probation to get snitches, which is not too hard to figure out, but it's something we should remember. So in a lot of organizations, so if you have these people who have criminal records, you have to be wary of them because they're especially vulnerable to being pressured the same way people who have drug addictions could be pressured. I mean, if you remember New Jack City, Chris Rock's character, he got high on drugs and blew the investigation. I mean, it's not hard to imagine if someone could supply him with the drugs to become a mole or something like that. And you see the lengths that they went to, destroying an entire building on their orders, and not only working to just go after community organizations, but political figures like Congress people as well. So anyway, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to support this channel, I'll leave my GoFundMe in the description. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, I'll leave it there as well. Peace.